I want to tell you something that nobody who works in one of those places will ever say out loud. The door is never actually locked. You can leave. Most people just forget their legs still work. I didn't forget. And what I saw inside that building during the 381 days before I walked out, that is what I am going to tell you about right now. Because someone should. My name is Harold. I am 96 years old. I know what year it is. I know every one of those 381 days. And I want you to understand something before I go any further. I am not telling you this story because I am angry. I am telling you this story because I am still here, still thinking, still present, still entirely myself, and that is something I had to fight for in ways I never expected. 2 years and 47 days ago, my daughter Patricia sat across from me at the kitchen table, the same table where I taught her to write her name when she was 4 years old. She slid a piece of paper toward me without meeting my eyes. It was a psychiatric evaluation, cognitive decline, unable to manage independent living. I read every word of it. My eyes weren't what they used to be, but I read every word. And when I looked up, Patricia was staring at the table, not at me, at the table. That was the moment I understood something had already been decided before I sat down. She got the house. The property Eleanor and I paid off together over 31 years. The house where we raised Patricia, where every corner held something of our life together. $340,000. Gone in paperwork. And I was placed in room 11 at a nursing facility 45 minutes from everyone I had ever known. Single bed, a window that faced nothing. A television bolted to the ceiling like I was already in a hospital, like I was already gone. I want to tell you about room 11 honestly, not the version in the brochure with photographs that looked like a hotel. A plastic mattress cover that crinkled every time I moved. A nightstand with one drawer that never closed properly. A shared bathroom down the hall. Every morning at 7 o'clock, a woman named Brenda knocked on my door and said, "Good morning, Dad. Time for breakfast." Brenda was kind. I want to be absolutely clear about that. Everyone in that building was kind. And that was almost the worst part, because kindness without recognition is just management. It is efficient and warm, and it misses the entire point. I watched the men around me stop talking, not because they had nothing to say, because nobody was listening anymore. There was a man named Raymond, who had been a high school football coach for 40 years. State championships, generations of young men who remembered him. Every afternoon, he sat by the window and moved his hands like he was drawing plays on a chalkboard that wasn't there. I asked him one day what he was doing. "Coaching," he said. "Who?" He looked at me for a moment. "Doesn't matter," he said. "I still know how." That was the moment I understood what that place actually was. Not a care facility, a storage unit for people whose families had run out of room. I started keeping a notebook, small orange one that fit in my shirt pocket. Every day I wrote the date, the weather, and one thing I had noticed. I am not a sentimental man. That was not the point. I needed proof. Proof that I was still here, still thinking, still present in this world. On day 47, Patricia called and asked if I needed anything. I told her I needed to go home. "The house is being transitioned," she said. I asked what that meant. She said she would explain later. She never did. On day 48, a man in the common room helped me look up my old address on his tablet. Listed for sale, $380, sold in 11 days. I sat with that information for a very long time. Eleanor and I had paid off that house over 31 years together. What I felt was not anger, it was something quieter. The specific sadness of realizing you misread someone you spent your whole life trying to understand. Eleanor. I should tell you about Eleanor. We were married for 51 years. She went quietly in her sleep, the way people hope to go. She used to tell me something I did not fully understand until much later. "You spent 43 years building bridges," she would say. "Real bridges, the kind that hold weight. But you never did build yourself a retirement plan." She was right. She was right about most things. After she passed, I called Patricia first. What I did not know until much later was that Patricia had called the doctors first, then lawyers, then people I had never met in my life. I found out the way you find out most painful things. Far too late to do anything about it. On day 203, Patricia came to visit. She brought carnations. Eleanor hated carnations. I did not say a word. We sat together for about 20 minutes. She talked about her job, her children, traffic on the highway. She hugged me at the door and said she would be back soon. On day 204, she had not come back. On day 206, I started watching the shift changes, the way an engineer watches a structure for stress points. 7 o'clock in the morning was the gap. 4 minutes, sometimes 5, between the night staff clocking out and the morning staff getting their coffee. The sign-out sheets sat unattended on the front desk. I was not planning anything. That is what I kept telling myself. On day 381, I stopped telling myself that. I put on my coat. I took my medication and Eleanor's photograph off the nightstand, and I walked out of there like I owned the place. Because for 381 days, I had not been acting like I did. And it was time to start again. The nursing home had a van that took residents to the library on Thursdays. That was how I found Kesha's listing on the community board. Room for rent, quiet street, flexible terms. I called from the library's front desk phone. She answered on the second ring. "How old are you?" she asked, after I explained my situation. 96, I told her. Silence. "Are you serious? What is your name?" "Harold," I said. "Harold," she repeated, like she was testing the weight of it. "I have a 6-year-old, she said. "The house is not always quiet. I built bridges for 43 years, I told her. "I can handle a little noise." Another silence, longer this time. Then she asked when I could come see the room. What I did not know then was that Kesha had been sitting in that house for 2 months, barely keeping up with the mortgage. Her husband had left 5 months before. He cleaned out the joint account 3 days after she filed the papers. She had $340 in checking, and a son named Jaden who thought his father was away on a long work trip. She needed $800 a month. My pension covered it, and then some, but neither of us expected what came after. That first morning I came downstairs, and Kesha was standing at the kitchen counter eating cereal over the sink, staring at nothing. The way people stare when they are doing math they cannot solve. I asked if she wanted some coffee. She looked at me like she had never heard the word before. "You drink coffee?" "I have been drinking coffee since 1958, I told her. "Sit down." She sat. We had coffee. She was guarded at first. Fair enough. A strange old man in her house. She did not talk much. Neither did I. But she stopped staring at nothing. And that became our morning. 3 weeks in, Jaden came home from school with a drawing. Houses, people standing out front. He handed it to me without saying a word. I looked at it. A stick figure with white hair standing next to a small one. "That is you," he said. "You are my grandpa Harold." I looked over at Kesha. She was looking at the refrigerator, pretending she was not listening. Eleanor's photograph is on my nightstand. Same as always, just a different nightstand. Patricia called last month. First time in 4 months. She asked how I was doing. I told her well. She asked where I was living. "Birchwood Street," I said. "With who?" "With my family," I said. A long pause on the line. "We will talk soon, Patricia," I told her. Then I hung up, because Jaden was at the kitchen table waiting for help with his homework, and that seemed like the more important place to be. I am 96 years old. I wake up every morning in a room I chose. I have coffee with a woman who sees me the way a daughter sees a father. I have a 6-year-old who draws me into his pictures. I built bridges for 43 years, real ones. The kind that hold weight under pressure, the kind that connect one side to another across distances that would otherwise be impossible. Eleanor was right that I never built myself a retirement plan, but I think she would understand what I built instead. The cruelest thing about getting old is not the body slowing down. It is finding out which people in your life were truly loving you, and which ones were simply waiting for you to become an asset. I survived 381 days in a room that was designed, however kindly, for me to disappear. I walked out on a Tuesday morning in my coat with Eleanor's photograph in my hand, and my legs still working fine. And I am not waiting to disappear anymore. I am here. I am drinking coffee. I am helping with homework. I am enjoying every single day as if it is exactly what it is, mine. If Harold's story reached something in you today, if you have ever felt invisible, ever been underestimated, ever had to fight simply to remain yourself in a world that had already decided who you were, then you know why Tales of Life exists. This is where real stories live. Stories of people who refuse to disappear quietly. If this moved you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment and tell me, when was the last time someone truly listened to you? Like this video, subscribe to Tales of Life, and come back. There are more stories waiting. and every single one of them matters.